Hello again, everyone. I hope you're all well. Merry Christmas and welcome to Book Club. And this is chapter 2 of the book, The Night I Met Father Christmas by Ben Miller. So in the last chapter, I'll just give you a quick recap. We met Father Christmas. That's very impressive. That was very fun. He doesn't turn out to be exactly as we thought he would be, but he's quite close. And he's going to tell us exactly who he is, how did it all start, who Father Christmas really is. So let's get into chapter 2 of The Night I Met Father Christmas by Ben Miller. Okay, chapter 2. Once, a very long time ago, there was a town near the North Pole, which was home to most of the world's elves. For as long as anyone could remember, almost all of them had worked in the town's shoe factory, which was famous entrepreneurial elf Grimson had built up from scratch. Elves, as I'm sure you know, are superb shoemakers, using only the very softest leather, which they cut and stitch completely by hand. They're also very good at magic, so each shoe fits whoever bought it perfectly. For centuries, no human shoemaker could make a shoe even a tenth as well as elves, so Grimson had no competition. But then humans invented machines that could make shoes almost as quickly and almost as well as those elves made. Of course, the shoes which human machines made didn't magically fit your foot, but no one cared because they were really, really cheap. Over time, humans started to forget all about elves' shoes and only bought ones made by machines. Soon, Grimson found it was costing more to run the factory than he was making from selling the shoes, and in a notorious scandal, he left the town in the middle of the night with his shoemaker's pension fund. Grimson. All the elves that had worked in the shoe factory suddenly found themselves out of work overnight. With no wages to feed their families and nothing for them to do, they soon began to lose heart. Eventually there was two kinds of elves in the town, rich and poor, which brings me to the main character in my story, Torvill Christmas. Torvill was most definitely one of the town's rich elves. In fact, as he was the owner of his only toy shop, he had done rather well for himself. But whereas most people who make money are happy to share it with their friends and family, Torvill kept his fortune all to himself. To be fair, Torvill had no family and he had no friends. Maybe we've got a picture of Torvill right here. So we've got someone running, looks like an elf, in kind of a suit with some kind of fancy shoes on, and in their hand we've got a kind of bag with cash just falling out of it, and that's the pension fund, unfortunately, we just heard about. So he was raised in an orphanage. He'd never known his mother and father, and had never really been close with anyone in his whole life. Our story begins when Torvill was 506, very old, long past the age when most elves settle down and start a family. Torvill, however, was still very much alone. By the way, elves generally live 10 times as long as humans. They considered to be babies until the age of 10, toddlers until the age of 30, children until they are 120, teenagers until they're 200, and grown up at the age of 303. Some aging. Some age cream. Not that Torvill seemed to mind being alone. Money, he discovered, could easily take the place of people, and the great thing about money was that it never let you down. If you count up your fortune after breakfast, you could be sure it would still be there when you counted it after lunch, and again when you counted it after supper, and again when you counted it one last time before you went to bed. People might come and go, but money was forever. All you had to do was make sure you didn't spend any of it. Not spending money was one of Torvill's favourite hobbies. There were no two ways about it. Torvill was mean. If an elf came to his shop looking to buy his son or daughter a birthday present and was too poor to afford any of the beautiful toys, Torvill never helped them by dropping his prices or slipping a pack of Star Wars cards into the elf's satchel when he wasn't looking. "Please, Mr. Christmas, show some kindness," the customers would say, to which Torvill always made the same reply: "Kindness, my good sir, doesn't pay my bills." Now, you might think that having Christmas as his actual surname would have made Torvill a big fan of the festive season, but you'd be wrong. Torvill really didn't like Christmas at all. He hated it. Every Christmas he could remember had been miserable, spent on his own in his empty, cold house, with no friends, no family to visit, and without so much as a single Christmas card, let alone a present. As a result, everything that normal people love about Christmas really got on Torvill's nerves. Christmas trees, advent calendars, people being nice to one another on public transport, all of them put him in a very bad mood indeed. The only thing that Torvill did like about Christmas was the money he made. In fact, and I'm ashamed to tell you this, when Christmas was coming and every elf in town was scrimping and saving to buy toys, Torvill would put his prices up. He was the only toy shop in the town, so no one had any choice but to pay the extra cost. For many of the elf children, whose parents were poor, that meant fewer presents. For some whose parents were very poor, I'm sorry to say it meant no presents at all. And that's the way things might have stayed, but for an rather extraordinary turn of events that changed Torvill's life forever. Events that, as you shall shortly see, changed your life too.